What do Saturday Night Live and the Chicago Bulls have in common? Well, they both had incredible runs in the 90s, but only one of them fired Adam Sandler. Here's what your favorite 90s SNL stars are up to today. Comedy is in Chris Kattan's blood. His father was a founding member of the Los Angeles sketch comedy group The Groundlings, which Chris himself joined in the 1990s. While honing his skills there, Kattan met another future Saturday Night Live star, Will Ferrell. The two quickly gelled creatively and actually came up with several characters that would later make it onto SNL and appear in their future film projects. Both Mr. Peepers and the beloved Roxbury guys came out of their time working in the sketch comedy troupe. But all good things come to an end, and Kattan wrote in his memoir that he and Ferrell ultimately had a falling out after their film A Night at the Roxbury hit theaters in 1998. By 2003, he'd left Saturday Night Live altogether.
Dad's gonna be pissed.
Kattan went on to spend time in LA and New York and continued touring his stand-up. While performing in Springfield, Illinois, he met writer and actor Maria Libri, and they quickly hit it off creatively and romantically. Kattan ultimately moved to Springfield to be with her, and they started writing sketches for his YouTube channel. They got engaged in 2023, and Libri told the State Journal-Register Kattan gets along great with her children. They have yet to announce if they officially tied the knot. But in the meantime, Kattan has continued touring, hosting the Idiotically Speaking podcast, and spending time with his new family. The early stages of Molly Shannon's life were marked with tragedy. At just 4 years old, she was in a car crash that killed her mother, younger sister, and cousin. And despite having to deal with such an incredible hardship at such a young age, she went on to become one of the funniest people, well, ever. She joined the cast of SNL in 1995 and quickly began introducing audiences to a number of iconic characters. Her performance as Catholic schoolgirl Mary Catherine Gallagher was so celebrated, the character eventually got her own movie in 1999's Superstar.
My feelings would best be expressed in a monologue from the made-for-TV movie Portrait of a Teenage Centerfold starring Miss Laurie Singer from Footloose.
After leaving the sketch comedy series in 2001, Shannon continued acting in film and TV, and even returned to SNL as a host in 2007. She published the children's picture book Tilly the Trickster in 2011, which was adapted for the stage a few years later. Since then, she's never really stopped acting, and has performed in critically acclaimed shows and movies like The White Lotus and Promising Young Woman. She even earned a Film Independent Spirit Award for Best Supporting Actress for her role in Other People. In 2022, she released another book, Hello Molly, a memoir. In it, she reflected on how she built such an incredible life after experiencing such a horrible tragedy as a kid. A year later, she went back to host SNL again, where she monologued about her college-aged kids before launching into a rendition of Everything's Coming Up Roses. Since then, she's continued acting and voice acting, and has undeniably reached the superstardom Mary Catherine Gallagher always wanted. Rob Schneider got hired as an SNL writer in 1988 and became a featured player in 1990. Alongside David Spade, Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, and Chris Farley, he helped usher in a new era for the series and became known as one of the bad boys of SNL.
My dog, after he drinks out of the toilet, called, wants his breath back.
He stayed on until 1994 before moving on to work in movies like Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, The Animal, The Hot Chick, and the 2002 sequel, Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo. As he got further into the new millennium, he also became a regular in films with Adam Sandler and Kevin James, like Grown Ups and I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry. He's continued acting since then and has gotten into voice work as well. He's also kept up with his first love, stand-up comedy, which he's done since before he ever got on SNL. He's toured regularly, especially in the last few years, and has put out several specials. In 2022, he showed off his directorial skills in Daddy-Daughter Trip, which he also starred in alongside his daughters and Jackie Sandler. Around that time, he had a similar hand in the Spanish-language comedy Amor es Amor, which he directed on site in Mexico City. In addition to all his creative efforts, Schneider has also gotten pretty vocal about his political beliefs. Though he once described himself as a Democrat, he's since declared himself an independent with some fairly conservative leanings and publicly supported Donald Trump after his second election. Adam Sandler might be one of the most well-known people to ever star on Saturday Night Live, so it's hard to believe that he was actually fired from the show. He joined the cast as a featured member in 1990 at just 23 years old. 5 years later, he was canned.
I was fired, not rehired.
The exact reason he got the boot has never been made public, but rumor has it NBC execs just weren't big fans. He seems to have gotten over that little speed bump, though, as he's returned to host the show and played a big part in SNL 50. As soon as he left SNL, SNL, Sandler starred in a string of legendary comedies like Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, The Waterboy, and The Wedding Singer. And right as that run came to an end, he started his own production company. Happy Madison Productions has consistently put out comedies for well over 20 years and has championed many of Sandler's old friends from SNL. These days, it's rare you see any Sandler movie without at least a few former or current cast members in it. And while most of his movies went in the silly comedy direction, Sandler shocked audiences with his dramatic skills in 2019's Uncut Gems. Since then, he's largely kept his work back in the comedy world, and he's often made it a family affair. Sandler's wife Jackie and their daughters, Sonny and Sadie, have often shown up in his movies, and Sonny and Sadie even had starring roles in the 2023 Netflix film You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. And like many of his 1990s SNL contemporaries, Sandler has not forgotten about his roots in stand-up comedy. He's gone on several tours and put out multiple comedy specials in recent years, most recently 2024's Love You. And he hasn't shown any signs of stopping anytime soon. In fact, after years of fans begging for it, we're finally due for another installment in our favorite hockey player turned golfer's story. Happy Gilmore 2 is set to release in July 2025.
It's good. Like, we worked hard on the script, man. We didn't want to let anybody down.
David Spade made his way onto Saturday Night Live in 1990 as both a writer and a main cast member. When he left in 1996, he quickly proved he was just as funny in longer-form comedies as he was in sketches.
Hey, you live here in Pittsburgh?
No, actually, I'm here.
Bye-bye.
By that time, he'd already starred in a few movies with fellow SNL star Chris Farley and quickly pivoted to the sitcom world with a 7-season run as Dennis Finch in Just Shoot Me. Since then, he's continued working with his SNL peers like Sandler and Schneider, and even took a stab at being a leading man in 2001's Joe Dirt. Stand-up has also been a long-standing part of his career as a comedian, and he's continued touring and releasing specials consistently for several decades. His most recent special, Dandelion, came out on Amazon Prime in 2025. In something of a departure from his typical line of work, he also picked up a gig hosting the Fox game show Snake Oil for a season in 2023. When he got the job, he joked in a press release, "When Fox asked me to host their new show, I was flattered, but then they told me it was about a shady snake oil salesman, and I was a little less flattered to be the guy that immediately comes to mind." The year before that, he and Dana Carvey started the Fly on the Wall podcast. The show originated as an outlet for them to tell behind-the-scenes stories about SNL, but more recently, they've been looking to expand their pool of guests and discussion topics to keep the show interesting. Spade has also returned to SNL repeatedly over the years to host, make surprise cameos, and contribute to the all-star celebration that was SNL 50.
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Will Ferrell is considered by many to be one of the greatest SNL cast members to ever do it. He joined in 1995 and lasted 7 seasons, constantly leaving audiences in tears. After moving on from the show, Ferrell proceeded to dominate the comedy film world with his performances in Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, Elf, Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, and Step Brothers. And whether he's making a brief cameo or taking on a starring role, he's proved his comedic range over and over for decades. Behind the scenes, he's also done quite a bit of work online and as a producer. He helped bring the website Funny or Die to life alongside Adam McKay, Judd Apatow, and Chris Henchy, and has executive production credits on some pretty heavy-hitting shows like Succession and Dead to Me. He's also never been afraid to switch things up. In 2024, he released the heartfelt documentary Will and Harper, which follows Ferrell and former SNL writer Harper Steele as they drive cross-country and explore their friendship after Steele came out as trans. And like a lot of people on this list, he popped back into 30 Rock to appear in SNL 50.
Add it up. Simmer plus Dan plus na equals simmer Dan na. Now simmer Dan na.
Cheri Oteri joined Saturday Night Live in 1995 and remained a featured player on the series until 2000. And while she was consistently hilarious on screen, Oteri told The Hollywood Reporter that, backstage, she struggled so much with the stress of the show that she often broke into tears. Even so, she managed to portray a wide variety of characters throughout her time on SNL, and was probably most famous for her impression of legendary journalist Barbara Walters. Though she may not have realized it at the time, that impression would stick with Oteri for decades after her time on the show. She got to meet Walters when she did a guest appearance on The View, and later celebrated the reporter on CNN after her passing in 2022. Since leaving Saturday Night Live, Oteri continued to work as an actor, and has also gotten into voice work on shows like Bunsen is a Beast and Puppy Dog Pals. And when the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike began, she joined her fellow actors on the picket line. As the strike went on, she got really into making personalized videos for fans on Cameo.
I will hallmark your loved one so hard they won't know it hit them.
These days, her cameo is still active, and she's continued appearing in TV shows on a regular basis. Darrell Hammond has spent about as much time in Studio 8H as anyone. He began his time on the series as a regular cast member in 1995. He stayed on until 2009, which earned him several years as the record holder for longest-running tenure on the show. And while Kenan Thompson eventually broke that record in 2017, Hammond found a way to spend even more time at 30 Rock when he replaced the late Don Pardo as the show's announcer. Hammond had occasionally filled in for Pardo before he ultimately got the gig full-time, so he had plenty of practice. In 1999, he even did such a good imitation of Pardo's voice during James Van Der Beek's opening monologue that it fooled Pardo's own sister-in-law. That was just one of dozens of impersonations that Hammond did throughout his career. Some of the more iconic ones he had to offer were Sean Connery, Bill Clinton, and even Donald Trump.
We're here to talk about this terrific show and not about my ongoing feud with Rosie O'Donnell, who, by the way, is a lowlife and a loser.
In addition to announcing, Hammond wrote a memoir in 2011 called God, If You're Not Up There, I'm He was also a co-host of the Third Person podcast. As of late, he's been performing live pretty regularly. In 2023, he joined fellow SNL alumni Chris Kattan, Jay Moore, and Jay Farrow for a show in Los Angeles. A few weeks later, he and Moore performed together again, and he's still touring as of 2025. Ellen Cleghorne achieved a lot in just 4 seasons on SNL. When she joined, she was only the 3rd Black woman to ever be on the show, and when she came back for her 2nd season, she became the first Black woman to ever be on multiple seasons. In her time on the show, she got to work with some pretty heavy hitters. Just in her first year, she did a skit with basketball legend Michael Jordan while he was at the peak of his fame.
Hey, don't push me! Go. Hey, you don't have to push me! Hey, you know I could sue you! Hey, don't make me take away everything you earned!
After leaving in 1995, she went on to star in the sitcom Cleghorne. The show only ran for 1 season, but Cleghorne isn't too bitter about it. She once reflected to Slate, "I don't think I was ready. In terms of being strong and saying, I can write, this is what I do, and feel confident in that. And to be able to say, no, this does not work. This works better." And while her own sitcom didn't pan out, she continued to act on TV and in film. She played SNL member Michael Che's mother on the TV series That Damn Michael Che, and also lent her voice for several episodes of the PBS Kids series City Islands. In 2023, Cleghorne joined the SAG-AFTRA and WGA strikes and posted a photo of herself on the picket line in Jersey City. A few years before that, she earned a PhD in performance studies at the Tisch School of the Arts at New York University. Since then, she's remained active on social media, but hasn't done much acting since 2024. Like Kattan and Ferrell, Anna Gasteyer cut her teeth performing with the Groundlings comedy troupe. Then, after some minor TV roles, Gasteyer joined SNL in 1996 and proceeded to leave audiences in stitches with original characters and her impressions of stars like Martha Stewart. She received a lot of acclaim for skits like Martha Stewart's Topless Christmas and NPR's Delicious Dish.
I can't help but notice, Pete, your balls are a little misshapen.
After leaving SNL in 2002, Gasteyer went on to appear in movies like Mean Girls and several TV shows. Over the last 20-odd years, she's continued to land consistent work in film, TV, and on the stage. A Broadway vet, she's had roles in everything from Wicked to Three Penny Opera. In that time, she's also recorded a musical album called I'm Hip and showed off her singing chops and quick wit in frequent appearances on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Lately, she's been very active in her local community, attending protests, giving talks, and singing in the streets of New York.
Actually, I'm hypoglycemic. I make stuff up. Hypo means make, glycemic means stuff up.
After spending almost all of the 90s on Saturday Night Live, Tim Meadows has continued to work with SNL legends for decades straight. He played the memorable role of Mr. Duvall in Mean Girls and also had a big role alongside Andy Samberg in Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping. More recently, he popped up in an episode of SNL alum Tim Robinson's I Think You Should Leave. Over the years, he's become the king of TV guest spots. In fact, he's appeared in so many shows with so many stars, he has trouble remembering them all these days. As he reflected to the pitch, "I had Reba on the TV while I was doing stuff around the house. As I was listening, I was going, man, everything they're saying sounds so familiar. And then I was like, oh, I'm on this episode." But when the SAG-AFTRA strike came along, he had to stop adding to his endless list of roles, so he pivoted to stand-up. In 2023, Meadows performed stand-up at Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club in Las Vegas, making sure to keep the subject matter away from his acting work.
I focus on pro-strike material.
But now that the strike's over, Meadows is back in front of the camera. He even reprised his role as Mr. Duvall in the Mean Girls musical.
Well, that's where I see things just a little differently. Contract or no, I will not bow to any sponsor.
Canadian funny man Mike Myers began his Saturday Night Live stint in 1989 and consistently delivered laughs until he left in 1995. And once he went off on his own, he quickly proved that he could make it as a leading man and a main antagonist at the same time. In 1997, Myers released Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, where he played both the titular Austin Powers and supervillain Dr. Evil. He reprised the roles in the 1999 sequel and once more in 2002. At almost the exact same time, he also started voicing one of the most recognizable and profitable animated characters ever, Shrek. And when he wasn't voicing a green ogre or playing a satirical spy, he made killer cameos in high-profile films like Bohemian Rhapsody and Amsterdam. And while the Shrek movies have kept coming, it's been a while since anything's moved on the Austin Powers front. But after he dusted off the Dr. Evil costume for a 2022 Super Bowl commercial, rumors of a fourth Austin Powers movie started circulating.
I can neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of such a program, should it exist or not exist.
But even if he doesn't reprise the groovy character, Myers can still look back at his long list of movies and shows with pride and count his earnings with even more pride. As of 2025, he's worth an estimated $200 million. More recently, Myers also made a triumphant return to SNL to portray Elon Musk. The Canadian earned praise for his humorous take on the disgraced tech mogul, but he earned even more attention for his comments on the political climate out of character. As he told the New York Times, "No one is more Canadian than a person who no longer lives in Canada. We love America. We love you guys. We don't understand what this madness is."